Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another Scientology Outside of the Church podcast. It is Friday, September 5th, year of our Lord 2025. I'm here with Quentin and Arthur, and we are going to do this is sort of a second one, but not a second one, entitled Why Your Body is Holding You Back. And we're gonna
Yes, the body
gonna
conditions.
uh, gonna go over the thetan mind body part, but just the body part because the body is the resistor, if you will, in the equation, the thetan mind body. If your body is having difficulties, which can be psychosomatic or caused by the thetan and their mind slash reactive mind, the thetan being the analytical mind. For those who don't know what the analytical mind is, it is you, the thetan, the spirit, the being. And we're going to get into some of the topics that the body holds a person back from getting in session, holds them back from getting on in life, and how to handle those things. This one was brought up by Quentin. So I'm going to give him the lead and I'll jump in on things from a technical aspect like we do. And I'm sure Artie will have some things as well. Artie likes talking about the body.
Yes. I think this is such an important conversation because obviously anybody bumping around here on planet Earth in a any effective way are working with the body. And so, listening to this and even as independent Scientologists, whether you're in session or out of session, whether you're driving down the road, whether you're dealing with your family, whether you're trying to make love to your boo, anything that you're kind of doing, you're working with the body. And what is it that's going on there that could be holding you back? What is it that's keeping you in these stuck flows, in these pains, psychosomatic things that's turning on, which we're going to go into in a little bit? But like, what is it that is so messed up about this body situation? And why is it so important that we handle it as independent Scientologists in order to go free as a being? So I think this is really important, and I wanted us to kind of dive into it. Namely, if we talk about psychosomatic illness, Jonathan, um, why is that? Why was that? I'll say when the LRH was coining all this and pitting Dianetics and Scientology, why was psychosomatic illness such a big focus of this technology?
Well, Dianetics handles the body, Scientology addresses the thetan. And then you have the cross between the two, where at some point you have the composite case that first comes up on milestone one, the milestone one lectures, as they're dubbed now, currently, which is the first foray into the composite case. And you have a cacophony, if you will, or copying going on from the composite case over into the body that you are the thetan in charge of. And so when you go, I have a pain in my zorch, which is a made up term for a made up body part so that it doesn't stimulate anybody, coined by LRH. You have a pain in your zorch. Well, guess what? If you're standing in a mock auditorium as the thetan in charge and you are there in front of Wembley Stadium with 500,000 other parts of the composite case, they all say, what did he say? Oh, we'll put our attention on that. And so you have this doubling down or 500,000 doubling down on what's going on with the body. And so you have this agreement. And that causes a tremendous amount of problems for the being who resides somewhat, as LRH says, the body is a sliver in the thetan isn't a sliver in the body. You have a lot of things that can go on when things get restimulated. So restimulation is the primary factor for body problems. And the key in all of this is, are you well rested? Are you well fed? Are you well slept? Are you well mineral and vitamin uh, fulfilled? Because all of these things can pull in mass, mental mass on the body, and anything that
Yeah.
causes an issue in the body, like Ellerate says, and this is fundamental to this podcast. He says the definition of a silly optimist is someone who thinks that they're going to feel perfectly fine every day in a meat body. That's a silly optimist. His words, not mine. So you have to take that into consideration, because the body is a carbon oxygen engine that requires food, sleep, water, temperature, pressure, an appropriate pressure. The body is a very, very sensitive 52, 54 sensor array, and it can only reside within a certain temperature band of about 20, 25 degrees, depending on your size of body, depending on the amount of oxygen in the air, depending on where you're at as far as your elevation. The higher the elevation, the thinner the air. If you live in LA and you're on the third floor of a building, well, you might not be able to breathe as well because of all of the contamination in the air. These are all factors that re-stimulate a body. But food, drink, sleep, water are primary factors there, because when you don't have those things in, LRH calls these out body rudiments. And these body rudiments are key for you to be able to be sessionable, to the degree that you're sessionable is to the degree that you're able to function on any given day properly. That means going to work, spending time with your family, your boo, as Quentin said, whatever. Because what happens is that when you're not well fed, slept, rested, uh, vitaminized, mineralized, the body tends to get restimulated, and then the mass comes in. And on an e-meter, just as an example, though you don't walk around your everyday world, uh, on an e-meter, you'll see that the tone arm rises. And the tone arm is an index of the amount of resistance, the amount of mass that's present there on the case in this electrical energy field that is part of and surrounds the body. And this mass comes in because of, well, the body's not feeling great, and that restimulates the composite case, and you put your attention on your zorch, and then the next thing, your tone arm is 4 or 5, which is really, really high and should be between 2 and 3. So you have to make sure that the body is well fed, well rested, doesn't get too much radiation, all that stuff. So it's very, very important. And then that also comes into what's restimulated might need assists, which is something else we're going to talk about in this podcast. So sorry to steal it away from you, but that's sort of
Yeah.
the big picture of the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think that really does kind of open up the door for a lot of ways that we look at it as independent Scientologists, because when for me, and this is how I kind of understood it, when LRH was even breaking down and discovering more and more about Dianetics, it was because of body conditions, psychosomatic illnesses, things that were precipitated, and that these pains and stuff that were lingering, right? And like, why does this keep lingering? Why do these pains keep turning on? Why does
Mm-hmm.
this stuff keep happening to me? In that I keep feeling this stuff that it could have been a pain that happened years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Decades
Mm-hmm.
ago,
Mm-hmm.
and yet it still affects a person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we know how to go in, how to spot, even with the somatic being what the body,
The pain
soma
in the
meaning body,
zorch. Mm-hmm.
right, even with the somatic, the pain that's getting turned on, we can spot exactly what caused that, really clear it out and deal with it. And in Scientology we call it as is it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exact time, place, form, and event, to
Mm-hmm.
as is something. it makes it vanish. And one can get relief,
Mm-hmm.
right? One can get relief from these pains and psychosomatic illnesses and somatics just by doing what is available to us as independent Scientologists.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is such an important conversation because how many of us are walking around life with pains and zorches,
Right.
wherever, wherever, wherever zorches be zorching. And so, and so we walk around and we're dealing with this stuff. I've been working out more recently, and I be feeling it, and I'm like something. I don't like the way it. I don't like the way it feels, but these things keep turning on, and I want to deal with it because it is something that when you are in pain, it can be debilitating. And
Yep.
any of you who are listening to this know when you're in pain, it can stop you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you're talking about. I don't care what you're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with. I don't care what you're trying to do. You in the middle of trying to get it on with your boo. We talked about it a minute ago. And then that pain in that leg kick in.
Mm-hmm.
that pain in that leg kick in. And you can't even, man, we're going to have to stop.
Yeah, and it's important to note, and this is a distinction that should be made to our listeners, both new and old alike, is that any psychosomatic illness that is turning on in the body is a direct result of some engram, secondary, or lock that is keyed in at that moment. Now, to define a key in and a key out from in a Dianetic sense and a Scientology sense, something that is keyed in means that a mass is present and is restimulated, and there's charge going on there, apparently. And when I say apparently, I mean in present time. That is the apparency, though there really is no time and space or distance. Therefore, it is there because the thetan, the composite case, both are putting it there. And what the body does when you're mocking up this mass in that body location, the body says, "Hey, something's not right." The body is a it's a hindrance, but it's also a fantastic organic machine, and it has its this way of saying, "Hey, something's not right." That "Hey, something's not right" is what we call pain. There's a ridge there. There's something going on. There's a mass that's being created, and the body is saying, "This isn't right. This shouldn't be here. I should be running normally." Because if you think about it, if if there wasn't any pain, you wouldn't live very long in a meat body, because the pain is danger, Will Robinson, danger. You need to do something about this. You have a thorn in your finger. If you didn't have that pain, it could get a lot worse and you wouldn't know about it. So the body
Infections
says,
and yeah.
right, infections and all this stuff. So the body's saying, "Hey, you need to attend to this right now." You put your attention on it. The composite case goes, "Oh my God." And then all of a sudden, it's 10 times worse. I'll give you an extreme example of this. As far as on new aerodynamics for OTs, you can handle the composite case on OT5 through OT7, new OT7, new on all of that. Four, new 5, and 7. 6 is a course to audit 7, so we won't include that. You can handle all of that adverse attention that's being put there from the OT case, and you can have a severe body problem with no pain. Because
Mm,
isn't that interesting?
yeah.
And this
You
is
can have a
something
severe
that
body problem with no pain. Okay.
you can have a severe body problem with no pain, because the pain is being caused by the case, the OT case,
Mhm.
almost exclusively, which means that, and a thetan gets what they put their attention on. That applies to the body as well. Without the OT case being there, you don't have this amplification of what the body is doing. The body, it's not nearly as bad at all by over 90%, 95%. It's not nearly as bad when the OT case is handled. But it all comes down to out body rudiments. And so you can key these things out. A key out is where the mass goes out. It's gone away from your space. That's what the grades do in Scientology and in Scientology auditing, is you're making the mass go out. You're not erasing it. You're making the mass go out away from the body so that the body is like, oh, that thorn, it isn't in my hand right now. I
Mm-hmm.
feel so much better. Whether it's a problem, an ARC break, help, or it's withholds, whatever, any one of those things, those are key outs. Now, a key in, when your body hurts, okay, when you're tired, you're hungry, you're sleepy, you're malnourished, malvitaminized, mineralized, your body gets keyed in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what you're trying to do is you're trying, if you get the body with its body rudiments in, you're at least at zero. Whereas if you're not, the body needs sleep, it needs food, it needs water, whatever. And drugs do the same thing. When you take drugs, they key you out. That's why, and this is an interesting point to the OT case, is that what you're doing is you're keying these masses out where attention has been put onto it by you in the composite case. And that's why people take drugs. And they, wow, this drug makes me feel better. That's
Feel
because
better, yeah.
the mass keyed out. Okay. When it keys back in and harder, the mass comes back in, more mass comes back in that's been restimulated by the drugs.
Mm.
So that's a key in, a key out. And erasure in Dianetics is, well, you've handled the engram, the incident of pain or unconsciousness, or the loss or a reminder of a loss or a pain and unconsciousness. It's gone. Now, what you're doing with assists, which we mentioned earlier in the podcast, whatever's going on with the body, there's an out communication. So what you're doing with an assist is you're keying the body out by doing well, for example, the touch assist. Feel my finger. Thank you.
Right.
And then you go to the opposite side of the body. Feel my finger. Thank you. And this can go on for 20 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours. But what you're doing is you're getting the thetan back in communication with the body because of these ridges, these opposing forces that are causing energy flows to get stopped. And that's where pain persists. It's gone out of the body part or location has gone out of communication. And so energy, power builds up there. And so the body is saying, ouch. And so getting it back in calm keys that area out to where now the person feels better about whatever is going on. And it takes as long as it takes. But I mean, the potential of a touch assist on its own is nothing short of miraculous. People
Yes.
go exterior, leave the body, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and we've done a podcast. We've done a podcast on the power of the healing assist in independent Scientology,
Mhm.
and I spoke about stories where just like real life stories where open wounds closed up right before my eyes,
Mhm.
just doing a touch assist. How pains turned off, backs reshaped. My best friend has scoliosis, and just doing the nerve assist on my best friend with scoliosis brought considerable relief. So all of these things are definitely real remedies. Healing assists are definitely real remedies that can help a person to experience considerable relief, if not total erasure of a pain that could be going on. But ultimately, and I think what Jonathan was talking about earlier is that when you're getting audited, okay, and whether it be book one Dianetics auditing, and any of you guys who have not experienced Dianetics auditing, it for me it was a game changer for a lot of psychosomatic things that was happening with me, which we'll go into in a few. But if you haven't gotten Dianetics auditing, definitely get that, and we can help you with that. But if you're getting Scientology auditing and you're sitting down and you're on the cans, and the and spotting things that you would not think have to do with these pains, and you you could just be sitting there and not even doing anything with your leg or your zorch. Sorry, did nothing. nothing dealing with your zorch, and all of a sudden your zorch starts zorching. And it's like a somatic turns on, and it's like, why is that associated with something over here? And you just don't know. You just don't know. And the reason why auditing works is because you as a being, your natural state is freedom from these conditions,
Hmm.
right? Your natural state as a being is vitality and creativity and power and the ability to be, do, and have that which you desire. And so anything that's holding you back, and the reason why we call this, why your these body conditions that are holding you back, is because you really want to be free. Right? You really want, as a being, as a thetan, you really want to be free, and you want to not be limited to these body conditions. And I think one of the things that makes independent Scientology so miraculous, if you will, is that um, in modern era, in modern era, we have a technology that allows a person to be free. I think LRH says the body does not live without the spirit. And so if you're in a position where you can experience life that's not limited by the body, okay, you can experience livingness that is not limited by the body's doingnesses, whatever the body's doing.
Hmm.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful to live and experience life exterior? I'm trying not to say too much, but wouldn't it be nice to live and experience life exterior to just the body?
Now, I want to involve Artie in this a little bit to a
Yep, I can
degree
hear.
that he's been and I want to engage him on this because he's just finished his clay table on
Mm,
communication
yes.
on the ProTR's course. And the reason why I want to bring this up is that the body is a sensor, an array of sensors, and it has as its means to do that communication. And everything, everything has to do with communication as a two-way flow. And in Arthur doing his ProTR's clay table on the chapter on communication in Dianetics 55, Arthur, did you have any um, realizations about communication in the body and how these things work for you while you were doing those clay demos?
That's a big question, but yes, um, because that's a lot of questions all rolled into one ultimately. I think the thing after doing the clay demos, after completing it, there was a sense of relief because it took a lot of effort. And what's interesting since stopping doing the clay demos around around that particular assignment, because I had to demonstrate all aspects of the communication cycle. But that was also including communication with your environment, not just verbal communication like we're doing now.
Hmm.
You've got to have your theta in, you've got to have ARC in, you've got to be able to be present where you are and who you're with, regardless of your environment. And that's tricky to do. But then when you break it down in such a way through clay demonstrations, it brings more logic into it. And so, oh, it brings more mass into it. Sorry, I'll take that back. Not so much logic, but you get to see it. Now, the tricky part is now your body has to work with these changes. And it's like it's no different to working a muscle. It takes time for that muscle to grow. It takes time for that muscle to heal. It takes time for that muscle to get used to its new environment, especially if you're doing, say, weight training or just any kind of new exercise, really.
Hmm.
And so it's a similar effect where now that I've completed that, I've had somatics turn on. I'm a bit fluey at the moment. Um, I feel weaker in my body to some degree. You know, like there's a lot of things that have turned on that are coming out of my body because some somatics as well aren't just physical pains. It's also things coming out of you, especially if you've discovered what the somatic is in a
Hmm.
sense. You know, it still requires its healing, the time to heal. And
Hmm.
it might come out through the lungs, through the mouth, through your nose, through your bum, through sleep, through many different ways. Sometimes you may not even get an effect. It's just done.
Hmm.
Um, and I think in my case, moving forward after doing that, because now we're doing the TRs as well and putting that into practice as well, and that's
And
bringing a whole
that's
different kind of mass into the theory. You know what I mean?
right.
And so now we're actually
I
doing the work.
right. And it's interesting to see that there are side effects from just doing TRs, and that's why LRH says that you can't do any other auditing while you're doing the TRs, the communication drills, because
Yeah,
it is a
and I can see
form.
why.
Yeah, it's a form of auditing
Yeah,
itself, and it can be very stimulative. There's a couple of times when I've been watching you guys do the TRs and stuff like that. I could see that you were, well, like you said, you were feeling fluey and everything. And yesterday you were saying, maybe we shouldn't do TRs today. And I said, we should do
I
TRs
didn't say
today.
that. I just said not in
No.
person.
I just threw him under the bus. I'm
Thank you
sorry.
very much.
Because,
It's
whatever,
real.
yeah, it's real. Whatever turned it on will turn it off. And this is
Yeah.
something that we're dealing with where you're doing a communication drill with a body to another body, a thetan, and thetan's connected to those bodies. And then the body shows these symptomatic sides of these things that we're sussing out in communication. And while you guys are doing the drill, you're saying, well, like Quentin was saying, I talk with my head and my shoulders, and your partner was saying, why do you, what was it he said? Why do you always talk with your head and your shoulders? Why do you move around so much?
Yeah. I like because when I
That's
do
right.
videos, I use my hand. I'm very expressive and stuff. Anybody who knows me knows, and that was like a thing. Like why just sit there and communicate? And this is from a
Which is
this is
harder
somebody
to
who
do
came
than
from.
people think.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's a
It
lot
is.
harder to do. Yeah.
Well, and I think Jonathan is spot on when he says like this is a real thing, in that now we're just talking about right now for those of you who are listening, we're just talking about using communication TRs, right? Which is basically TR stands for training routines. I don't know if we said that already, but TR stands for training routines. How to get a person to communicate effectively, right? And just sitting there communicating with another being in a certain way can turn on somatics in the body. Now think about this in every other area of your life. Think about it in school, going to school, and oh, I don't feel like going to school today. I'm not feeling well. And you try to get out of school and you turn on a service facsimile or something like that. Think
Right.
about it from think about it in life and going to work and trying to be productive, and you're feeling a little bit defeated, didn't get enough rest because you're burning the midnight oil, and now you under the weather for a week and a half and you get taken out, because of something turns on. This affects everything. And I
Mhm.
want you to understand why this is so important and why I believe LRH started with looking at the body, using the mind, what the mind is doing to the body with its Dianetics, and why psychosomatic illness is talked about so much throughout independent Scientology, because people are always dealing with it and don't even know it half the time. They just think it's normal. I'm sitting here looking at this lecture is from the St. Hill Special Briefing Course on a campaign to handle psychosomatic ills. That's the name of the lecture. Campaign to handle psychosomatic ills. It comes from July 28th, 1964. And he says here, he said, now, He's talking about doctors, talking about medical doctors. He said, now his route then is a physical address to the situation from the beginning to the end. So when you speak of illness, how does this register to a medical doctor to whom you are speaking? You say illness and you say healing. You say these two words, and the medical doctor at once, instantly and at once, translates it into physical address.
Mm-hmm.
That's his basis of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's give the bloke some credit for this. Most of them, those certainly that have had experience, are not trying to hold the public front and trying to shake down the government for the whole bunch of shekels just to waste time. They know they are up against uh, it when it hits the word psychosomatic. Now, psychosomatic is the most abused, misunderstood, turned upside down term that anybody ever aired to have anything to do with. Psychosomatic means what the psyche experiencing or in pain, the psyche suffering. I think this is so good because LRH talks about when you see these psychosomatic ills turn on in your body, it really is the psyche suffering. The body is just a result. The
That's right.
body is just a symptom.
That's right.
This is
It's the
interesting.
symptomatic side. That's right.
Yes. But when you're talking to your medical doctors and, give credit to that bloke, per LH, but when you're talking about the medical doctors, his or her physical address is the only experience they have to address it. So
Right.
they'll give you medications, they'll give you a surgery, they'll give you a stent, they'll put something up in there to lock it in or whatever. But if it's something that keeps turning on and we don't know where it's coming, they call it asymptomatic, or they call it, what's it called? Autogenetic disease, right? Just don't laugh
Right.
at them.
And that comes back to and this is the larger arc of this podcast is we were talking about Artie and what he's experiencing on his Pro TRs course as an example. Artie said to me, I think I've got the flu. I'm feeling fluey. And I immediately thought, okay, what's he doing? Okay, he's doing TRs. All right, that's where this is coming from because he's outside of Australia.
Still don't believe that. Just
He's
saying.
and that's why I'm talking about this to you so that the listeners get this is because it and to validate what Quentin says is that okay, this thing is going on. Well, it's your zorch. This is what's happening. And if we got the body rudiments in, and Arthur's getting enough sleep, and he's well fed, and he's well rested, and he's in a decent environment, which he's been wrestling with in Malaysia to try and find some place that was a little bit more naturistic as opposed
Yeah.
to concrete jungle. And
Yeah.
that may have a factor in it, but I mean, if you've got those body rudiments in, and then you're doing something else, whether it's you're on course and you're on Pro TRs and you're doing TRs, or you're just going on in life and you've got something going on. The point is that if something is going on, the body is the symptomatic side of the thetan, as Quentin mentioned, the psyche, the I, the thetan in charge. And you can't, ask for whom the bell tolls, the bell tolls for thee, because what's happening is you're seeing a objective result in the body from something that is part of the being, something that they're creating that is in the way. So if you have something going on and you're feeling fluey, okay, in Arthur's situation, it was almost a perfect example of that he's running through these communication drills, and the even larger arc is communication is being gotten in as to the difficulties that he's running into in his current time track in life, and we're running these things out. What turned it on will turn it off. And the same thing applies to a PC that you're auditing in session. Is the way out is the way through. We're running this process. whatever turns on in the middle of this process is because that process is working, and that's going to show up in the body.
And
Go ahead, Arthur.
I think also from my experience running through this as well is there's an element of reality that's showing me where my communication has been out, and see, and I think people tend to forget as well, like when you make such changes, you still have to live life, and life will show you those changes. It's not like you get a feel good moment and that's it. As you're going into life, these things start to present themselves, and because it's not, for me, it's not just the flu. It was like I had disruptions finding somewhere to stay. I had disruptions, just mistakes that cost me money and all that kind of stuff. Like a lot has occurred pretty much all at once. So not only physical somatics, but then also actual things
Personal.
happening
Yeah.
in my world as well,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. And they're all communication based. And so now it's like, okay, how do I make these things work, knowing what I know? And in order to get through that stuff as well, what's you've got to apply these things as well, because just doing the course isn't enough, so to speak.
Yeah.
You still have to apply these things. You hear it all the time. If you apply the tech, if you apply the tech, and I think it's at this point as well where a lot of people will blow without, trusting that if you see it through, I'm going to get the results I want. Like anything, the moment you start a project, quite often, if it gets a little tough, it might go back on the shelf for a while and it always be incomplete. And these processes are the same. You still have to see them through to get the results,
Right.
So even though right now I'd rather just stay at home and watch a movie, I'm here. I'm here presenting myself, pushing through. After we
Yeah.
do the podcast, we're going to be doing more TRs. We're just going to keep persisting with this until it's done, because I know once it's done, my external world will also change, because now I've managed to break through those barriers in my internal world.
Right.
That's so
It's
And
good.
subjective versus objective. Objective being the physical universe, subjective being in your
Internal.
universe, or an internal
yeah,
or the agreed upon universe that you and Quentin are doing these communication drills with.
that's right. As
And
much as
that's
I'd love to be victim, so to speak, and then just blame and then sit on my hands, it can't happen that way. But
Yeah.
and I don't say that as a joke, because a lot of us do
you mean
take
it.
that position initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the danger zone as well. And starting such a process, you've got to see it through. You have to see it through. And
Right.
it's funny because there's a little part of me inside that says that, you know, my
You want
physical
to leave.
somatic saying,
You want to
"Oh,
leave.
just forget this." Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then I just sleep and eat and do nothing. But then the other part of me is like, no, you have to do this. You have to see this through. If you want things to change in your world, then you have to change them.
Hmm.
It's really that
So good.
simple.
Yeah.
The
And
world
So
is
good.
not going to change just because I'm uncomfortable. Like today, there was a storm with lightning everywhere. The universe didn't say, oh, maybe I'm making them a little uncomfortable. I'll just make it a little more gentle. It said, no, here I am. Lightning bolts, thunder strikes, winds, weather. And I think that's a reality that we tend to dismiss as well. The true nature of things does not discriminate on how you're feeling about something at all. It
hmm
really doesn't care.
hmm
Um,
right.
so
It's
anybody
happening for a
wanting to
reason, in
do
other
this,
words.
do it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and they're my reasons.
Right. You can agree with it, or
Yeah,
you can disagree with it and say, well, the weather's crappy out today. I've got to drive half an hour to get to Quentin to do these drills. We'll put it off till tomorrow.
Mm.
And
yeah. Which means what? The somatic's going to sit around for longer.
right.
And if anything, the somatic might win at that stage. I'll be existing with that somatic for a long, long time,
Mm.
Hmm.
as opposed to doing a little bit of uncomfortable hard work now, reducing that time by an incredible amount.
Right. So,
if not permanently.
yeah. And so you're disagreeing with the physical universe. Go ahead, Quentin. I can see you want to say
Yeah,
something.
and isn't that, thank you for that, Arthur, because isn't that a microcosm of the macrocosm that is independent Scientology? Like a little bit of push through, persistence, fighting your own demons and fighting your own stuff in order to get through it so that this never has to be an issue ever again. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's so good
100%.
because
But not only that,
mhm.
I can spread my somatic to other people as well.
Boy, oh boy,
Just saying. Just saying.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like
and it
Malaysia's a
carries
beautiful
over.
place, right? And while I'm
Mhm.
going through this, I'm in a country, I'm in a different location, I'm this, I'm that, you know. I might go back home if I don't resolve this somatic and be like, don't go to Malaysia. It's a rubbish country. I hated every minute of it. Da, 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 you know, and I'll spread my somatic through my words.
Mm-hmm.
I love Malaysia, but
Yeah, but I'm just saying as an example, like
Right.
as an example, like the way
yeah,
somatics work, they don't discriminate because I don't know what the somatic actually is at this stage.
yeah,
All
what
I
it
know is
is.
I'm getting a somatic from a process, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah,
and that somatic could be from the womb, pre-womb. It could be anywhere on my
and,
time track.
and because
It could
and
have been
because
last
of
week.
and because anything equals anything equals anything, A equals A equals A, because of that viewpoint, that it could make it so that you think that this was the problem when it's not the problem.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Right.
I had a PC. I had a PC that would get these killer migraines, and I talked about this in the last podcast, but I think it bears repeating. I had a PC who would get these killer migraines, and as we were in session, we were going over and over and over. It was Dynetics. We were going over and over and over what was going on with this person and their headaches and all that stuff like this or whatever. And he spotted for himself that it was the telephone back in, in his office. It was, the telephone that's on the receiver, the landline telephones. And it was the telephone because his sister called him and he at work, he picks up the telephone and says, this is Mike or whatever his name was. And she screams in the phone, Mama's dead! Mama's dead! And she screams in the phone this. And it, boom, it hit him like a ton of bricks. He started getting migraines.
Mm-hmm.
And he had been in this job for many, many years, 20 some odd years. And it, like clockwork, he's sitting at his desk at work and he would just start getting these migraines and he would like, oh my God. And he would have to call in to work and get off work and do all this other stuff or whatever. And immediately, once he spotted that lock, immediately he got relief. He cracks up laughing,
As he
having
should.
right? He cracks up laughing, having a guffaw about how stupid it was that his sister calls him and says, Mama's dead, and doing all this
Yeah.
stuff. And all because he was getting these migraines, all because of this telephone. And now he's
Mm.
back, he's at his job, has no problems, right? Because it was something that you think it's, oh, I need to drink more water, I need to exercise more, I need to do
Yeah.
this, I need to do that. And that's all wonderful and well and good. And of course he was popping, pain pills or whatever for the headaches. But I'm saying all this to say is that what you think it is probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Yes.
so, and because anything equals anything, you get into a situation where this means this means this means this, and it probably is not the issue at all. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that this is so important as independent Scientologists being able to really go in and help you spot what's hurting you,
Mm-hmm.
help you spot what's ailing you and where it really comes from, and giving you assists, giving you auditing, and giving you things that you really need. And in this case, even TRs, doing the communication drills, so that you can start to live life better without all the stuff impinging upon you as a being, because the body wants to feel a certain way.
And
Yeah.
it's funny how you said that as well, because that kind of goes back to what I was saying before about becoming like a victim. Because you'll blame your poor logical mind is trying to make sense of why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and it just simply cannot. I mean, with guidance, it can, but when you're trying to work things out, quite often you never find the actual onion, so to speak. And it's like, even from my experience here, like I've had multiple experiences, and I could take the attitude of it was because of this person, it was because of that situation, it was because. But there's only one factor missing in all of those, and that factor is me. I was in all those situations. They weren't in the situations. I was in those situations.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right.
There's only one common factor, and that was me.
Right. And the point is the body is the subject, or excuse me, the objective object that you have. And when you start seeing things on the body where, okay, I'm feeling fluish, I'm doing communication drills, and things are turning on, you either agree with it or you disagree with it. And you go, okay, well, I'm feeling fluid. Why are you laughing?
I can hear my cat calling me as you're saying this.
Because if you agree with it and you go, oh, well, I'm a victim. I agree with the fact that I'm a victim. I agree with the fact that I'm feeling fluish and I'm doing communication drills. Okay, then you're done for. Because it's complexity and confronting. What am I
100%. If I leave this open, I've achieved nothing.
Right.
Like zero.
That's right. The way out is the way through, and that's how I was trained at Flag when I did the communications, the ProTRs course, the communications course. Is, the way out is the way through. Is you're directing the person's attention towards something they don't want to look at for what it is, and we have to keep going. We have to keep going until that is keyed out or it is erased to the point to where now you have this ability that you didn't have before. But the body is showing the symptomatic side of it. You're turning on fluish symptoms. Mama is dead. Oh my God, grief, shame, blame, regret, apathy, all this stuff is the symptomatic side that is showing up in the body because your agreement is as such. And I hope this.
And now you're shaking that cage.
Yeah.
I always see it like it's almost like another character that lives inside of you, and now it's been exposed. And so it will do whatever in its power to prevent you from removing it. It'll lie to you, it'll hurt you, it'll cheat you, it'll do so many things, like a whole other personality that's existed completely fine, for so long. It's put you into so many situations. Now all of a sudden you're starting to reveal it, and it's got its own survival mechanism as well. And its survival mechanism will be, let's make him sick. Let's make him sick. Let's make him sick. That'll stop him from going. Let's put some obstacles in his way. That will stop him from getting there.
Right. and so that's the thing, is that if you agree with it and you go, oh, well, it's the flu. Where are you?
Yeah.
Where are you? You're 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Whereas, well, okay, what was it that I was doing? Oh, okay, I was doing these communication drills and this stuff turned on. In other words, where were you last doing good? Okay, well, I've now started to confront something that I didn't want to confront, and the body said, boom, smack. You're now there's this. It's misdirection.
Yeah.
Don't fall for it. Right. It's a trick.
It is a trick.
Don't go into agreement with it. That, okay, so you're looking at this a confirmation bias in a reverse form. Oh, I'm sick. I need to stop. That's the last thing you need to do. You need to push on. Because
good.
And it's interesting as well, like just completely a little off as far as like somatic talk goes. Like it's quite a theme in New Age spirituality now as well. And what I find really interesting about that is, this through Scientology, through the work of LRH, Independent Scientology, this work has been observed. Techniques have been designed to resolve these things. Like there's no stone has been unturned in understanding somatic behavior through independent Scientology. And there's a lot of modalities out there that claim to do these kinds of things as well. But this technology has been around for a long time.
Quentin's shaking
And
his head.
and yeah, and
And
because there's so many people will take a piece of it, right? And just not recognize the depth that Scientology actually went to resolve these conditions in people, and still does,
Right. Right.
and nothing's changed. It's the same
The
techniques
tech is
for
still
what,
there. Yeah.
70 years? Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's only now that people are starting to become aware of somatic behaviors, and even just using the word somatics is actually becoming a thing. When you go back so long ago, like it was already there. It was
Yeah.
right.
already there, and
Well,
yeah, it's really
a,
interesting.
a part of what I wanted to even talk about here was also like that is any of this, and Jonathan, you might be able to answer this question too, but is any of this that we're talking about right now in the province of faith healing? Because obviously that concept or that idea has been around for eons, right, or
Right.
centuries, where it's like, I believe, hallelujah, I believe, and you can now walk, after having a gimp leg for all your life or something or whatever.
Drink
Is
snake
any of
venom
this
and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
right? Right. Is any of this in the province of faith healing, or is it something else? Is it something that is uh, trackable, measurable, you know, readable, or whatever, where you can actually see how a person's pain or whatever that somatic turns on, you can see it. Like, is this different than faith healing?
Well, I mean, to be anticlimactic, no. But the reason why it isn't any different is because you look at earth-based religions. Okay, I'm going to assign cause to somebody else. The big man in the sky with the gray beard, and you're going to say, well, the Lord works in mysterious ways. He will show me what it is that I need to do. Now, you can disagree or you can agree with it. That's totally fine, and self-determinism is paramount. It's the most important thing. What's true for you is true for you. You can say, okay, the Lord meant this to happen. And you can agree, keyword, parentheses, bold, 24-point font, underlined and italicized. You can agree with that, and that's true for you. But the thing is who is the source of this? What is the source of this? At the end of the day, you are the Alpha and you are the Omega.
Oh, come on. Come on. You
Well,
are
we're
the
just looking at that
beginning
the other
and
day.
the end, the first and the last.
Right.
And, and so and so this is really interesting because LRH says in the same lecture I mentioned earlier, he says that you can even go back here and find the point where the fellow made the postulate to have the illness.
Mm-hmm.
See, you can do all kinds of wild things on this side of it, not just on the, and there's no help to the medical doctor. Like the medical doctor does what the medical doctor does, and nobody's throwing medical doctors, to the crocodiles. But when you work from this side of it, per LRH, and you can go back and you can actually find the point where the fellow made the postulate to even have the illness, right? That there is a truth, and I'm emphasizing that word. There is a truth that comes along with helping a person understand why their body conditions are holding them back. And I'm speaking from personal experience where
Mhm.
I go back and I've gone back and I've found where I said to myself, this is what I'm going to experience. And it shows up later, over and over and over again. And I'll be like, damn. I literally, I kid you not, I literally used to get summer flus or summer colds. And, you guys have heard of these, right? Where it's like summer colds, not in the winter where most people think you get the sniffles or whatever. I used to get these summer colds, and I used to say to myself, "Get this," and let me tell you how stupid it is. I used to say to myself, I would get these summer colds every year. Catch this, took myself back, go back, and found out it was because when I was a kid, one time, I didn't want to go outside and play football with my brothers and them. And so, because I didn't want to go outside and play football. It's so stupid. And so
So you
I
got
didn't want
sick.
to go. I didn't want to go outside and play football. So I decided that I get summer colds. And like clockwork, every July, I would get these damn colds, and it would take me out for about a week
Mhm.
because I didn't want to go outside and play football.
Solution to a
It's like
problem that
kids
became a
getting
further problem.
Right,
it's like kids getting sick before they go to school. And
right,
then
because they didn't
or
want
how
to take
many
a test.
times have you been sick and you thought to yourself, you know what, it'll be okay. And then it gets worse, and then you make an appointment with a doctor and you rock up to the doctor's for your appointment and all of a sudden you feel fine.
You feel better now, right? I swear it was there before.
Right. So
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
who made the decision that then manifested itself on the body? Whether it
Hmm.
was Artie's fluish feelings because he was having to look at something that he needed to
Had
confront
nothing to
and
do with me. It was
had
my
had
external environment that created it. Thank you.
I'm,
Jeez,
so, I'm sorry.
it's crazy.
I mean, that typifies it. That typifies it
Yeah.
right there. Is this resist that which you resist,
Yeah.
you become because
Yep.
of your agreement to your own and to go back to the alpha and the omega, everything that happens to you, you cause. And I'm sorry, that
Yeah.
sounds like the most terrible tasting thing you
It's
ever
true.
want to hear.
It's
But it's
true.
true.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm. My mother.
that shows up on the body.
Yep. My mother almost took herself out just with that what you just said. But this was back in 19. I'm sorry, this was back in 2007. My mother calls me. I'm living in Atlanta, Georgia. My mother calls me and she said she had to get rushed to the emergency room. And I was like, wait, what happened? And she said she started having pain in her chest and pain in her arm, the whole thing. And like Art just said, when they got to the hospital, she was fine. And so the
Mm.
doctors checked her out, wanted to make sure everything was fine. And they ran whatever CGIs or MRIs or whatever. And they couldn't find any blockages. They couldn't find any issues. And so they just chalked it up to like maybe it was heartburn or whatever. And I'm sitting on the phone with her and I said, Mom, how old are you now? Because, obviously age might be a consideration in that heart stuff. I said, Mom, how old are you now? And she said, I'm 54. I said, oh, okay. I said, and how old was granddad when he died of a heart attack? She said he was 56. And I said, how old are you? She said, I'm 54. And I said, how old was granddad? She said 56. And then she just cracked up laughing.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
right, and because
And
that's
then she
that
is,
life continuum thing, I
that's that life
now
continuum.
I'm supposed to act like my dad, and that's all there is to it because you agreed.
Because you agree but people in my family get this, people in
Right.
my family get that, they have these issues or whatever, and now she's 70 something years old, doing just fine, no heart issues, no nothing, ain't nothing going on, right? And so it's you got to understand that you can cause these things things, and you cause them inadvertently.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Exactly.
interesting as well, because taking that a step further, like how many people actually are sick and then they go get so many tests, so many, they spend time in hospitals to have zero results showing some kind of ailment,
Mm-hmm.
nothing. Yet
Mm-hmm.
they're so convinced that they're ill.
Yeah.
Like that's
And
such a common thing.
right. I need to take this medication to key this out so that I don't have to look at it, that I'm actually causing it myself.
Mm.
Yeah.
Think about
And
that
so
for a minute.
and so now we have um, an understanding, at least, of why and how the body and these body conditions are holding you back. And per art, um, what you say? How you say art? Just push through it.
We
Like,
just do it. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
and the statement is so true. Actually, I got two things. You know, the only way out is through. Like that is such a powerful statement, and it's much bigger than even just us discussing it actually is. Because to see it through is not a small task.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting a cycle and actually completing it. Um, but also towards the end of my clay demos in chapter 7, right at the end, um, Ron Hubbard's discussing the curious question of more communication or less communication. And this really stood out for me because his final outcome for his decision was more communication is the only way. Now, if you've got
mhm,
ailments and you're communicating less and less and less and just accepting the ailments, then you're not communicating, are you? Whereas if you start communicating more with your ailments, then something's going to happen. Your ailment may communicate back, so to speak, and then you can discover these areas in your body. But more communication is the key, which means, more communication in my situation would include communicate communicating with you, John, communicating with you, Quentin, communicating with my way here, communicating in time, communicating in being present,
yeah,
communicating doing the TRs, communication, more communication, more communication. The less communication, the more your ailments. The more your
yeah,
ailments,
Mm-hmm.
every
then
single
you're only
time.
going to go
Mhm.
backwards. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
and
that
every
statement was
assist.
really powerful. Everything. Yes. You got to communicate the assist as well, even if you're doing Scientology assists. They
Right.
require communication in order to do them.
The touch assist restores communication with the body. The nerve assist is about communication of the nerves, how the nerves
There you go.
and energy flows through the body and stuff like that. The contact assist gets you back into communication with the physical environment,
Mm-hmm.
and the locational, which is like a type of assist as well. The locational gets the spirit in present time and being able to be aware of their environment, observe their environment to alleviate mental overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
And so people having panic attacks, people having anxiety, people having, all this stuff,
Right.
whatever. There's like you can literally pull yourself out of these things by working with communication. So when you said it, our LRH concluded that more communication is better. All that's true. It's true. And every assist works from that perspective
Yeah. You're just trying to get the person back into communication with their environment in the
in
physical
the body.
universe, as far as objectively or subjectively, that then is not now. Then is not now.
Yeah.
Whether it's look around here and find something that doesn't remind you of blank.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Assist for the loss of a loved one.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that then is not now. Get into communication with your environment. You're here and you're now. This is what is going on right now. So all of these things tie together, whether they're objective processes that are trying to get you back into present time, where you're not reviving something that happened in the past that makes you feel bad, that keys you in, makes the mass pull in and you feel much more solid and massy, or keys it out so that it's not affecting you, so that you can see the trees for the forest and you can make forward progress. That's the point of this podcast, is take a look at this and go, okay, the way out is the way through. Whatever turned it on will turn it off. And so getting auditing and looking at these things and disagreeing with past agreements that you've made, because whatever it is that you're experiencing right now is only because you decided that you needed to experience that, whether it was wrong or it was right or somewhere in between. Auditing will help you look at that and go, okay, I made a wrong decision and I'm operating off of that. I'm living the life of ma and pa. My daddy died at 90. I'm going to die at 60 or 62 or whatever. You don't have to do that. You're the alpha, you're the omega. It's all up to you, and the way out is the way through,
Yeah.
but you have to be able to look at it. I mean, that's what you're getting out of this, right, Artie?
Yeah, and it's pretty full on, because as you're going through it and your world is happening, um, you can't help but think the work you've been doing definitely attributes to it, because it's actually making me realize how communicating more is the option. Because a small example, I was stuck on somewhere to stay, and then I just got something cheap just to give me a bit of time, and I decided, and this is how crazy it is. I decided to stay in a room that was moldy, it was run down, it was this and that. And I was okay with it for some odd reason, but I wasn't okay with it. And then I came over to Quentin's and I'm like, oh, I've got this real shitty place. And he's like, well, did you do something about it? I'm like, no. And it's like, no communication,
Yeah.
no communication. All I had to do was communicate to get myself put into a better room, to do this, to be more comfortable. But instead, I chose uncomfortability over a decision I made. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it happens.
It's
And we
crazy.
and we think we're being polite, or we think we're being just going with the flow. We say stuff like that or whatever. But what we're really doing is that we're, even if for that moment, we're kind of lessening our own power and putting ourselves in a position where the environment gets to win versus I get to create an environment that works for me.
Right.
And I
100%.
think that probably is the most uh, godlike or godly, holy way of, what is it? Outflow is holier than inflow. I think that's the holier way of living, where you get to express or outflow that which you are. And if you're a sane, loving, neat and tidy, healthy individual, and I know you're very healthy. You're a very healthy guy. You play pickleball. You be running
Yeah.
around, walking out in nature and stuff. I don't do none of that, but it's like you're you're a very healthy person, and then you go into an environment that doesn't reflect who you are, and you say, "Well, I'll just deal with it." No,
Yeah.
not on my
Yeah.
watch.
Right. What did you
It's
agree with?
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of things.
Yeah, man. So this is where we are, and what I love about this, and I love that the fact that we can have this on this podcast and talk about it, and that you guys get to sit here and talk to us about it, because it's like this is life, and we live in it, and we figuring it out, and we doing the stuff that we got to do to make it go right, and we get to share these experiences with you to show this is real stuff. Like, we're, as independent Scientologists, we don't live in ivory towers. You know what I'm saying? We are living here in the life, in the trenches, doing things that everybody has to go through, and yet we're doing it with the technology and a knowingness that can help us through it every step of the way if we apply it. And that's what I love about this.
Right. It takes persistence to go the distance.
That's a t-shirt.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
The way out is the way through, and who are you agreeing with? If you're agreeing with yourself, what are you agreeing to? And that's what we'll put as the end cap on the whole podcast. And this shows up in the body. So Make sure you eat right, drink right, sleep right, all that stuff, and take a look at what it is that you're agreeing to and who are you agreeing with. And you can disagree and change things if you want. And a lot of that has to do with changing your mind by getting auditing and getting the information that you need to have in order to evaluate situations with yourself and others across your 8 dynamics. So we beseech you to do so and get in touch with us on ao-gp.org or the College of Independent Scientology, and get in touch with us, and we'll get you a theta meter and interview you and get you rolling on all of the things that you need to do to be, do, and have, and agree to the things that you want to agree to, as opposed to the things that you are agreeing to. So for Quentin, myself, and Arthur, get in communication with yourself, get in communication with us, and change your agreements. Namaste, and we love you. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye bye.